And what motivated your change?
The pain of being disgusted with myself. Mm-hmm. That pain, I've said it a few times, the most disgusting things I've done.
I saw myself going that downhill because I woke up and it was calling me to come get it at 3:00 in the morning. I was like angry with life. Life just wasn't meeting my models, unanswered prayers, which also caused me to be angry with God about a lot of things that didn't make sense to me. Well, right now, my life helps me to manage myself because it just doesn't work for who I am today. Urge for it. Once you're an alcoholic, it's like being hungry or being thirsty, right? You're craving the alcohol. I never got to a point where I craved the alcohol. And because I didn't like being out of control.
Well, you was scrutinized, wasn't you, anyway?
Oh, because, I teach against religion. I don't believe in religion.
Because they're not as disgusted with their life. Okay. They are okay with what they're doing now.
Yes.
Hello, and welcome to the Next Level podcast with me, Gaz Collins. Today, I'm with Jimmy, who was a previous guest around a month ago. Just want to let you know, this episode is sponsored by the gym that we attend, Pattaya. So shout out to Owen over there for sponsoring this episode and supporting the podcast. Much, much, much love. Just to let you know, they also have a great resort in Thailand countryside in Phetchabun. Absolutely wonderful it is. So if you want an all-inclusive Thai boxing all-out holiday, that's the place to go. Yes, indeed. Thank you for being here. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Let me know what you think about the conversation we're about to have. Let me know what you take from it and enjoy. Thank you for being here, Jimmy.
Thanks for having me back, brother.
You're welcome, bro. You're welcome, man.
Good to be back.
Seemed like it was very rushed, the last episode. So I'm glad we can dive in deeper into your life and what you do in Pattaya. So can you give the world a little bit of a recap of what we discussed last time?
Well, last time we talked a lot about me, who is Jimmy, where I'm from, where did I grow up, what brought me to Pattaya. Yeah, it's pretty much like a recap right now.
Yes, you also
we talked about a lot.
Yeah, you mentioned one of your darkest days of waking up out of your bed and going to a CRACK house.
ACK house.
Crack house.
Oh, yeah.
Well, yes.
That was way back in the day.
Yes.
I was in my 20s then. I'm in my 50s now, so that was over 30 years ago.
Totally. Yeah. But I can imagine that was a massive epiphany moment for you.
Yeah, it was. When I realized when I woke up one night having a craving for getting high and literally left out of my house at about 2:30, 3:00 in the morning and went to the nearest corner drug dealer and scoped some crack and went to a trap house and, shared, because you got to share to come into the house, so shared my drugs and went in and smoked. When I went back home, I just had this flash of myself just being a full out, strung out drug addict, hustling just to get high, because I knew lots of people who were functionable crackheads, that had professional jobs, but they were in crack houses, One was a dentist in that same crack house that I was in, and he was getting high all night and had to go to his dentist's office that same morning, and so you never know who's smoking because they can afford to get high, It's just when you can't afford it anymore is when your life just kind of goes downhill, and so I saw myself going that downhill because I woke up and it was calling me to come get it at 3:00 in the morning. I was like, hell no, this is not about to happen to me. And so I had to get a grip on that. And I prayed about it, asked the Lord to take that from me. And about 2 weeks after that, never touched it again.
Credit to you. Can you share with me a little bit more about your rebirth of your character from that time?
My rebirth of my character. Well, again, I grew up in church. So I always had a moral compass of what was right and what was wrong based upon what was instilled in me as a child. When I, became an adult and started, dipping into other things for having fun and hanging out with peer pressure, what have you, I realized very quickly that wasn't for me. It just wasn't for me. I was like a fish out of water, being around certain environments and in certain places. And even though I was there inside of me, there was always this voice saying, you don't belong here. Why are you here? And so I never got strung out on drugs. I dabbled in them, but I never got strung out until that one moment, like I said, when it was calling me. Then I saw myself about to get strung out. And then I was like, let's put the brakes on right here. And, but even after that, growing up in church, you know, like a lot of people, I became angry with God, angry with life. Life just wasn't meeting my models. Unanswered prayers. Which also caused me to be angry with God about a lot of things that didn't make sense to me. And so I walked away from my faith and just went into the world just to have fun, whatever. I'm just going to live my life, enjoy living my life, And so I went through that moment for about 15, almost 20 years.
Okay. Was that after the crack scenario?
That was after the crack scenario.
Okay. And
yes.
was you on any other substances or?
I always used to love smoking pot.
Oh, okay.
I was a wake and bake pot
really?
smoker, dude. I mean, I started smoking pot when I was 15 years old.
Me too. Well, probably a bit younger. Maybe
Yeah,
13,
so
12.
so throughout my years, I never really stopped. And during those times, it was like every day I was smoking pot.
How long's it been from you haven't smoked any weed?
Ooh, I can't even remember.
Yeah.
It's just I don't even think on it. You know what I mean?
And alcohol?
I don't really drink. I mean, I can't say I don't drink alcohol. I will have a cocktail,
Okay.
if I'm with friends or whatever, a celebration, a toast. But 2 drinks minimum. And when I do have a cocktail, I have Long Island iced teas,
Okay.
which is one of the strongest cocktails you can have. But I have one of those, because you only need one to get you nice and giddy. I don't like to get drunk. But I like to, get tipsy, have fun with everybody. But I cut myself off. I don't allow myself to get drunk. I don't like the feeling. I hate puking, I hate being out of control of myself, and so alcohol has never been something that I really took to.
How do you control that yourself? Because it sounds like you've got a strong handle on it. I know I'll be totally honest with you. Like when I have 3-4 drinks, and I've planned to only have 3-4 drinks, I'm out till 3-4 o'clock in the morning. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So how do you control that?
Well, right now in my life, it helps me to manage myself because it just doesn't work for who I am today. There was a time when I was a party animal, and I used to like go to the clubs and like dancing, but even then I never liked getting drunk. I was a weak drinker.
Yeah.
I would get sick. I'm a puker, right? If I got too drunk and I'm having a great time, and the music's loud, and then you get to the car and it's all quiet, and then my head starts spinning, and then I get nauseous. Some people could fight that feeling. Me, I'm like all over the place. I get sick like that, dude. And so that was one of the main things that deterred me from really getting drunk. Because I didn't like throwing up. I hated puking, and so I had my limits,
Yeah.
If I'm 2 Long Islands in, that's too many,
Yeah.
because I will get sick and I would throw up, and I hated throwing
But
up.
how do you pass on that mindset to someone without the self-control that you have there?
Well, when it comes to alcoholism, you don't let yourself become an alcoholic. See, I never had the alcoholic urge for it. Once you're alcoholic, it's like being hungry or being thirsty, right? You're craving the alcohol. I never got to a point where I craved alcohol, and because I didn't like being out of control, not having the urge for it and not like losing control gave me the discipline to have a limit.
You don't want to escape this reality.
No, No,
That's a big thing, I feel. It's a
another
massive
thing too
thing.
for me is that even with my friends, I was always the designated driver. I always had the car, and whenever we were going places, I was always, okay, I'll come pick you guys up. So I was always the driver. So that too made me responsible in my drinking when I was partying because I didn't want to, be drinking and
Mm.
driving drunk, you know. On top of I didn't like getting drunk. And so that's why I was always the designated driver because they all knew Jimmy's not going to get drunk. Let him drive, you know.
We're living in Pattaya right now,
Right.
and it's rife for partying, nightlife. Probably, definitely one of the hotspots on the planet for partying,
Yes.
and just the general concentration of bars and women, and it's
Yes.
all in ridiculously abundant.
Yes.
Okay, how do you inspire or like help people navigate through surviving Pattaya?
Well, for me, just having a purpose. To live in Pattaya, and not be sucked in by the environment, you have to have something else that motivates you. You know, if you come to Pattaya, you don't have a real purpose, then you're probably going to get sucked in by the peer pressure and the guys you hang with, and all the environment, and it just sucks you in. And then you find yourself in this place. How did I get here? And how do I get out of here? Well, again, to deal with any stronghold or addictions, it has to be driven by something that's more powerful than the addiction. Usually that's a strong sense of purpose. Finding a purpose of being here, I think, is how a person can survive here without being swallowed up by the environment. So how do you find a purpose in Pattaya? Right? For me, for even being in Pattaya is to reach out to those men who are coming here from around the globe, who are hurt, have hurts, habits, and hangups, who are drowning their past lives with either alcohol and sex and just not wanting to remember. And Pattaya is good for helping them forget that, you know,
For
um,
a certain period of the
for a
day.
certain period of time because it gets redundant, right? It's the same thing every day,
Yeah.
and that's what I found. A lot of men are sitting in the same coffee shops, the same restaurants every morning. You pass by, you see the same guys in a group sitting and just talking with no real purpose. It seems like they're sitting around waiting to die, you know,
Mm.
waiting for their years to pass and then they're gonna die here, and so that's no real purpose for living. But you know, um, people like yourself who are into personal development, and the inner work you've done on yourself, and coming from where you came from and fighting your own demons, and now you're on the other side of that. Now you can look at other people and see, wow, I need to help that person get to where I am at. So now there's a sense of purpose. Just this podcast is a purpose, right? To give people new ways of thinking about things, new awareness, enlightenments. These are ways of finding and discovering the purpose. It takes someone who's gone to the other side of defining their purpose to guide other people to finding their purpose. And so that's what I do here in Pattaya. When I first came here, I just saw like people walking around like the Walking Dead. It's the
Mm.
same thing every day. Every day, and I'm like, okay, that's no reason to live. And so I was inspired to come and just meet whoever is looking for something more. I've actually, when I first came here, there was a guy named Wally who had said to me, when I first came, we hung out for about 2 weeks, and he saw that I was not affected by the bar scene, and I had started getting into the church community, and I started mentoring men. And he's like, "Man, I'm so glad you came here." He's like, "Because I was about to move out of this city because I'm so tired of it." He says, "But you gave me a different perspective on why I'm here." I said, "Well, that's cool, brother." And he actually inspired me by saying that. And I was like, "Wow, okay." This brother found something different just by watching me do something different and having a different purpose, gave him a new sense of purpose. And then I was like, okay, there are other men out here that's like that guy who's looking for something different, you know.
Can you dive a little bit deeper into that epiphany moment and the steps that this man has taken now to turn his life around and have more control on the vices that Pattaya throws at you?
Well, one of the things where he said that to me because, you know, he goes out and he hangs out with other buddies that goes to the bars and drink. Well, he himself likes to drink. And he's like, man, I'm just so tired of this drinking and going to the bar all the time. It's just old and I just need to leave this place. But he saw that I wasn't living like that and I didn't need to live like that. And even when they would invite me out to come and hang out with them, I would go to the bar with them, but I'm not there drinking and picking up girls. And so he saw a different.
It's possible.
It's possible.
You
It's like,
didn't
wait a
believe
minute.
it.
This guy's here and
Yeah,
he's not affected. He's not trying to pick up on girls. He's not getting drunk. And like, how is he doing that?
He's
You know?
superhero.
And so, yeah. And I told him, you know, because that's not what I'm here for. You know, I'm here for helping men to come away from that. So I have a purpose why I'm here, and that's driving me to be strong. It strengthens me to want to be the example the men need to see. Because when that man said that to me, I had no idea that I had influenced him like that. I was just being me. But he says, man, I'm so glad you came here. I was like, why? He's like, because, man, I was about to move, but you showed me that I don't have to move anywhere. I could be right here. I don't have to be a part of that. And I was like, no, you don't.
What do you feel the one sort of character trait or one thing that sparked or one thing that he was lacking before you gave him that inspiration?
That it was possible to not go to the bar and drink just because everybody else is drinking.
So
It
belief.
was belief that it is possible to go to the bar, and even though the girl is trying to pick up on you, you don't have to. You don't have to participate. You don't have to participate because everyone else is doing it, you know? And so he saw me do it different, and that inspired him that, wow, I can do it different too. I don't have to leave Pattaya.
Yeah. Also, I feel that he's not taking full accountability and responsibility. He's like, oh, I'm in Pattaya and this is what everyone does. So I have to take myself out of this city so I can control myself.
You know, and what I said to him, it doesn't matter where you go, you're going to find pockets of Pattaya everywhere you go. And so if you're drawn to the bar to go and drink, wherever you go, you're going to go find a bar and go find some friends and do the same thing. I say, so it's really making a choice of how you want to live. You know, you don't have to do that. You just have to make the choice. You don't want to do that anymore. You know, and so hanging out with me, we hung out together, and he began to create a different routine. So he started walking a lot, you know, and started creating a different routine for himself of different activities he can do other than going and hang out with the same guys all the time and having a drink, you know. So,
Yes.
so again, just bringing awareness, you know, and enlightenment and being an example for people to see, because that's extremely important, you know, when you're mentoring people, is that they need to see that it's possible. Because some people's like, man, that's not possible. How is that? Well, yeah, it is. If they see someone doing, well, if that person can do it, I can do it. Hey, how do you do what you do? Then they start asking you, and I tell them, well, one, I don't like being out of control. I'm not into the whole bar girl thing, and I'm not attracted to dating a Thai woman because there's a lot that comes along with that, even though there's some good Thai women out there, but I'm not in a place where I have to take care of her and her family, and then the drama that comes along with that, you know. And so all that to me is just turn off, even though there's a lot of beautiful Thai women out there. I see the beauty, but then I say, what comes with that? Then I think about that, and then I go, oh, no, we don't want none of that.
Right, while
You
we're on
know?
the subject, can we give some sort of comparison to the taboo of a Thai lady? Because as you mentioned, they're not all like that.
No.
But it does seem like there's a very large ratio compared to Western women.
Well, I think every man, when they come to Thailand, experience women differently from the women in their own countries. You know, because Thailand is a kingdom, and the culture of this kingdom is very different. And then the culture of the way the women, prepare their lives if they can't get educated or what have you. It's just kind of a norm to go into this way of life, right? Which is sort of a subservient way, because of monetary reasons, not because they're emotionally available to just submit to a man, but because they need their needs met. Where in other countries, women are a little bit more in control, a little bit more boisterous. They don't, I mean, I can't say that because women chase men for money, but they make the man have to earn that money, earn their
Yes.
respect, earn that, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
they're the carrot and the man is chasing after it. Where here in Thailand, the man is the carrot and the women are chasing after it. In comparisons,
I
because
totally hear you.
in other countries, the man has to impress the woman, right? Take her out on a date, show her that he's worthy for her to be with him. Where in Thailand, a man don't have to work that hard to get to a woman.
I hear you. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
What do you feel is one of the key character traits to a Thai lady that is open and operates, as you just mentioned, like the taboo, yeah, and the Thai lady that takes her career into her own hands? And
I think the
What do you
difference in
think?
character trait is a sense of self-respect. I believe that and I've met, Thai women who just won't compromise themselves because they have a sense of high respect for themselves. And they would rather, have a food cart and do whatever than go to a bar. I know this woman, a friend of mine is dating. I won't call her name, but she worked in Bangkok in a mall for 22 years on the same job, making very little money, barely surviving, but she refused to compromise herself for more money. So it really depends on the person itself and the level of respect that they have for themselves as a woman. Some women just don't want to be subjected to
I hear you.
being a man's slave, basically, for money. They have a little bit more respect for themselves than that.
I'm with you. I've recently changed my mindset and how I view this scenario due to the fact that compare how we were saying Thai ladies working in the sex industry, yeah, selling their bodies. Okay. Now compare ladies in the Western world in a job they do not like. They hate waking up. They just don't want to be in that job.
Right.
Could you? You can see what I'm saying, Kate. So the one, yeah, she's selling her time and her body, but this other one is still selling her time and body as well, not in one way. And
The comparisons. For instance, an American woman, let's say, American woman who has a good job, she's making $50,000-$60,000 a year, right? But America's so expensive that that's really not a lot of money. And so it's like you're on this hamster wheel
yeah.
to get ahead and to save, but you got all the expenses because everything is so expensive, and you go into this job you don't even like, and it's like you're never going to escape because you can never get ahead, and so it's pretty much like the same, because here they get little money, but it's still a trap.
Yeah, I've
They
never.
can't get ahead.
Yeah.
But in other countries, like living in England or living in Australia or living in America, yeah, they're making good money, but it's so expensive to live, especially in today's world. It takes the husband and the wife to be making good money just for them to get ahead. But as a single person, especially if you're single without children, they tax you so much, in America, because you don't have a child or you don't have things that you're paying other taxes into, so you have to pay more taxes. So a lot of your money is going into taxes because you're a single person. So it's just the economy. I think that's driving that.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's as much opportunity in Thailand than there is, and structure than there is in the Western world.
Right.
But they're both still a slave for the boss sort
for
of
the
thing.
money.
Yeah,
Yes.
for the money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so there are a lot of women who have good jobs who still do escort service on the side because they're trying to get ahead because the job is just not enough, you know.
And
then don't let them have children too. Oh my God, you know, now the children have school expenses and school dues and clothes and and so if you're a single mother with a good job, you're really struggling because you got kids now to take care of and there's fees for schools and stuff for children and the children always want things and so yeah. Kids definitely changed the dynamic for women.
exactly. What would you? I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, put myself into this female's seat, and what would I do to feed my child?
Yes.
Ask yourself. I mean, if you're in the Western world right now, what would you do?
Yes.
You'd do anything.
Yes.
But what I would counteract that is that they could invest their time into building themselves rather than wasting their time. You with me?
I'm with you.
Again, just the same as someone working in a factory or in a job that they don't want, then they're not investing in themselves to move out of that job.
So the key word is investing in oneself, right? And even to, educate yourself to make more money takes money. So now you got to pay
Not
for your
exactly
education.
money. It takes 100% time.
Time, for sure.
100% time and
Yes.
100% effort.
Yes. Yes. And to get educated costs money. Unless you're self-educating, that takes a lot more time if you got to find information for yourself versus going to a curriculum that is set to teach you what you need to know. And usually you have to pay for the course. So not only do you have to still work and pay for the course and make time for the class for the course, and if you got a child, where is the time? There isn't enough time.
There's always time. Do you mean there's always time, but it's just not a priority?
Yeah,
it's not a priority.
Or you're just not disciplined enough to unawareness, or just
creativity,
lack of discipline,
urgency. Just drifting through. I've been there. I've been there. This is why, you just mentioned, I can share with you what the roadmap is.
Yes.
It starts with developing yourself.
Yes.
And raising your value and your value.
But let me ask you. If you were a married man and a father, could you have done that in a work and take responsibility for all that you have responsibility
I would like to look back and think that I would have been more motivated to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because as more I'm looking at, I've got more on the line.
Yes.
More pressure.
Yes. But in a lot of cases, depending on how deep people are in their addictions or they're dealing with their personal demons, it does take some isolating oneself and going through your own stuff and, really getting away from peer pressure and getting away from things so you can make the shift.
Certainly.
Well, if you're a husband and a father, you don't always have that luxury to isolate, right?
No, like I said, there's always a way around it. You can always do it. I'll give you an example. My business partner, who ran a food business in England for 4 years. She had 2 children. She used to work with me whenever she could in the business, and she always had time to develop herself, wake up, read, meditate. Because it was a priority. It was a priority for her.
Yes.
Because she knows the importance of developing herself.
Yes.
Now she's left that job, that business broke down, and she's straight into something else that she enjoys more.
Yes.
Because she's done the inside work.
Yes, but see, her personality is that character, right? What are the percentage of people with that type of?
Yeah, but I wasn't. This personality. I wasn't born with this personality.
Right.
I was a menace. You with me? Okay. I was a time waster. I used to waste my time on Football Manager. I used to smoke, drink, drugs like every weekend from like 16 to 25, 30.
And what motivated your change?
The pain of being disgusted with myself. That pain, I've said it a few times, the most disgusting things I've done, like falling out with my ex-partner and like sabotaging her clothes,
Mm.
you know.
Yes, yes, yes.
That pain,
I want to
that
say
pain's fueled me.
I say congratulations
Thank
for
you.
using the pain as a tool, because as you know, a lot of people drown the pain and they go down the rabbit hole.
And that's
you
what I
know,
was doing for a long time.
yeah,
I was
yeah,
drowning it.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
was hooked on sleeping tablets and everything.
Yes,
You with
yes.
me? But I feel because it was such a long period of my life that was in that struggle.
Mm-hmm.
It's imagine if you training in the gym every single day, 2-3 times a day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's what I was like mentally going through so much pain.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I come out healed, I've gone through the ring. I've gone through the.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've been battered and bruised
And
mentally.
you wanted more
Mentally,
out of
I've been
life.
battered and bruised. So it's not like when I wake up, if I don't read, it's not. It just comes so second nature to me.
Mm-hmm. To wake up and read.
Yeah, it's so second nature
Yeah,
to me.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it's like most people. They'd be like, oh, you know, because they're not as disgusted with their life.
Okay.
They are okay with what they're doing now.
Yes. A
It's
lot of
not.
people.
It's not uncomfortable. It's not too uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I understand that putting in the work, the inner work, a lot of people don't want to do because it's a suffering in itself to put in the work to get to the other side of something. I remember a guy who was a panhandler in America, and he had this big old beard, you know, and he kind of looked like he was an older guy because he had all this beard, you know. And then when he's asking me for some change, and I looked in his face, he looked like a little baby in his face. I was like, "How old are you?" He's like, "Oh, I'm 22." I said, "Are you handicapped?" He's like, "Oh, no." I say, "You know, is there any reason why you can't work?" "No, I just don't want to work because I don't want the responsibility." He said, "I'm just being honest with you. I just don't want to, you know, the responsibility of paying the rent and doing this and doing that." You know, I said, "So then why should I give you my money?" You know? So if I had people that say they just don't want to do what it takes because it's hard work. And it takes stamina and consistency, you know, and failing and getting back up. And, you know, some people just don't have it in them to do it.
And it's that believing that because I don't want to do this, I'm not going to do this. I've grown up most of my life with that attitude, with, I'll do what I want. That got me nowhere. As soon as I switched that spark in my mind that, right, I'm going to start facing the things I don't want to do because I'm not spending the rest of my life in this same person. This is not going to run.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
really feeling like I'm like knocking on death's door, and that's when you have to just kill that old self.
Yes. And I've had people say that, you know, I'm comfortable where I'm at. This works for me. They get comfortable with being uncomfortable in an environment that really doesn't work for them, but they make it work for them at the expense of other people most of the time, you know, like asking people for other stuff for their very, you know,
And it's a
in
big
a box life, right?
mindset switch with that comfort is disgusting to me.
I know what you
You
mean.
know, like snoozing now is disgusting to me.
Yeah.
Like it took me years and years and years to build this mentality that when I wake up, I'm straight up, you know? So it's raising that awareness, raising your awareness and being more conscious of the things that support your future self or like deplete and lower your self-esteem.
And the key word you say, raising the awareness, right? So there has to be a why factor that pushes you to that awareness. Like, why I don't want to be this way no more, right? What is this? What am I doing? So something inside of you has to stir it.
Yes.
And then your why factor becomes something different. And then, you know, okay, enough is enough. I don't want, now I want something higher than what I have. Until people come to that awareness of what is their why factor, why do they want the change? And are you willing to go through what it takes to make the change, especially based upon how deep in that you really are? Some people are so deep down in their stuff that they can't do it alone. It takes a sponsor, or it takes someone to pull him by the hand and say, I'm with you. Come on, we can do this. You got this. I know you, but come on, you can do it. Some people need that because they're so far in their stuff. So they can't, it doesn't even look possible.
One thing that massively changed me was David Goggins' biggest fear is being on his deathbed and knowing that he could have gave so much more to this life. God looks at him and goes, David Goggins, I had you to do this 100 miles and all of the things that he's done now. Yeah. And then God saying, well, you could have done this, but you haven't. And instead, him getting there and going, wow, I didn't have you down for all of this. I didn't have this all written down. You have over-delivered. You've over-delivered. You've surprised even God. That fear of, I've done it a couple of times, just visualizing being on your deathbed. Strongly. Feel it. Feel the pain of all of the potential you've left inside of you.
Okay.
Painful. All the things that you go, should we do this? Should we do that? Should we do...
So my question would be the potential for whom that you could be doing. See, again, we could do a lot of things, but are we contributing to humanity? See, now there's a purpose there again, right? Because we could do a bunch of other things that I haven't done, but it still could just be about me doing these things, my bucket list of things that I haven't done. Okay, but am I thinking about doing things of what is my role in this life to contribute to humanity?
Yeah, impact for the sake of good.
Yes,
Bottom line, impact to be remembered that this person massively sparked something in me, and now I live my life with more hunger.
Yes. Now that is worth living for.
That's very sad.
Yes, because
that's what I'm trying to push on you.
Yes, because when you impact someone's life that way, money can't buy that. You see, and it's life changing.
Yes.
So then, and when someone come and tell you, you probably don't remember this, but 4 years ago you said this to me, man, and it changed my life forever. Like, what did I say? You see, you don't even remember that you impact someone without even realizing it, but it changed them, and they come back and they give you a report on it. Then you go, wow, okay, who else's life I can change? And so now it becomes a purpose to impact people's lives.
Totally.
Totally.
Can you share with the world your North Star?
My North
Star. We just had a coffee. You mentioned a little bit about it and how you operate.
Define North Star and the way you're using it.
Is your number one objective on this planet? Why are you here?
My number one objective in this planet is because I do believe in God, and I do believe that God has given me gifts and talents to impact humanity. And so my number one star is to not disappoint fulfilling my calling, fulfilling why I'm here. I live literally my life now for living out my purpose of helping people, because I have a natural gift of listening. And as people are talking to me, I hear what they need to hear for themselves. And because, that's natural for me, now I live my life to find people that I can do that with, And so when I meet God, He's gonna say, Jim, man, you've saved that one. You've got a long list of people you've impacted their lives. Well done, my faithful servant. Because I'm looking to impact people's lives with my life. So, and it's more about, pleasing my God.
Can you share with us, I know you've touched on it a little bit, but how your mindset is comparing like the material and the service-based, because I know that that's your number one. You're here to deliver the service,
yes.
And material and like sponsorship, that's how you're operating.
Yes.
So can you dive into that a little bit more?
Yeah, I'm here 100% living in Pattaya on donations only. And there are people in the state that know me as a minister. They've seen me counsel. They've seen me work in recovery. They've seen my work. They've seen the fruit. They've seen the labor of people being helped. And so now coming to Pattaya and telling them about Band of Brothers and what is my intention for being here, reaching out to the men who are here, because I don't know very many missionaries that intentionally go out and to reach men. It's usually children or sex trafficking or poor neighborhoods, but the man has been forgotten about, you know.
Okay.
No one is focusing on men who are lost. And so God put that in my lap. When I came here, he's like, these men need to be ministered to. You need to go and serve these men. And again, that was inspired by one man saying he was glad that I showed up. And that was the second week of me being here that I met this guy. And then I met another brother and he was like, man, you need to start your own ministry here. And I was like, okay, I didn't come here to do that. But I started impacting these men and they wanted me to stay around. And so that's what showed me that there was a great need here of men who are hungry for something different. They just can't find it. It's kind of like Neo in the Matrix. He's studying the Matrix. He's studying computers. He's like, there's something about this. I just can't put my finger on it. But he needed Morpheus to unplug him and show him, hey, this is what you've been looking for all this time, you know? And so that's sort of what I do. You know, I have organic conversations with men and they start talking about things and they're telling me what they really want. And then I just feed into that, or I water that, or I plant a seed into that, you know, to bring that awareness, you know, to provoke the thought, to make them go, huh, I never thought about that. You know, that's the moments when somebody go, wow, I never thought about it. So those are those aha moments that could be life changing, because now once you're awakened, you can't go back. Once you know something, you can't unknow it, you know? And so getting them to make those discoveries and go, wow, you know, I never thought about that.
Spark.
It's just a spark that would change their life forever.
Okay, so next we will dive into Peter's death and how that was.
Okay.
Okay, so please share with me now one of your clients that you've gone through death with.
Yeah, he wasn't actually a client. He was my brother in Christ. I met him at a church here locally a year and a half ago when I first came here, and he, you know, Peter was 77 years old, and when I met him a year and a half ago, he was a lot stronger, you know. And I came here last summer and I spent some time, but we never really connected. But because I sent out the word of the day every day, which is these scriptures on the subject matter, you know, food for thought, word of the day. And he had been getting it for a whole year. So whenever I would see him, he would just light up. He wanted to shake my hand. It was almost like he wanted to talk about something. He was always excited when he saw me. So this time when I came back and I saw Peter, he was a little bit more frail. And I was like, oh, my buddy is not looking good. I said, oh, I wonder if he's really born again. Has he really committed his heart to Christ? Is he prepared for his maker, you know? And so that inspired me to go and connect with him because he wasn't looking good, you know? And then I did that and come to find out he had never really been baptized and he never really committed his life to living for Christ. He was just a believer. And I said, well, Peter, it's more than just being a believer. You have to like really live the life, you know, and I talked to him about being born again. And so I was pretty much mentored him, you know, and discipled him in the scriptures of what it means to be a true follower of Christ and not just a believer. And he was so appreciative of that. And he ended up having a blood clot in his leg and had to go to the hospital. And after he got out of the hospital, there was this long recovery process. And the lady that was taking care of him and was taking advantage of him was taking his money, it was, Thai woman, and they was just taking his money. And so I had to just step in to help him because he didn't have any money. Number one, he was living off his credit cards. And so I stepped in to help him save his money. And then I started caretaking for him. And then because of that, I was picking him up, bringing him to church, bringing him to meetings, bringing him to Toastmasters, 4 times a week. I said, Peter, maybe we should just move in together.
Oh, nice.
Because I'm already with you almost every day. And, you need physical therapy and swimming pool, and you can't get in the pool by yourself. So we should move in together so I can help you get better. Well, unbeknown to me, Peter was already dying. You know, he was working on 28% of his heart, and he was in heart failure, but he had never told me about that, you know, because in his mind, I'm going to get better. And he wasn't thinking about, you know, I'm dying. He's thinking about, I'm going to live as long as I can. So he didn't never talked about that he's actually dying. I didn't find that out until one day, you know, I'm taking care of him, and his legs were swelling, and his ankles and feet were swelling. I was like, Peter, something's not right here. I need to get you to a clinic. We need to go to the doctor. And I took him to the clinic, and then I got the heart result back. And then I realized, oh, okay. And he's in heart failure. He's got 2 stems already in his heart, and his heart is leaking into his lungs, you know, and fluid is building. And so they gave him this medicine to get rid of the fluids, but he never recovered. He never got better. He was getting weaker and weaker and weaker. And then I ended up calling a nurse because he didn't want to go to the hospital, because in Pattaya, you got to pay up front.
Oh, yeah.
You got to pay the hospital, and they got to check him in the hospital, and it's not cheap, you know. And so he was like, I don't want to go to the hospital. I can't go to the hospital. And I was like, well, Peter, I mean, I can take care of the outside of you, but I have no idea what's going on the inside of you. I said, well, I'll get an in-house nurse. Maybe they can come bring IVs here in the room and bring the whole equipment here. It'd be cheaper than going to the hospital. And then when the nurse came, as soon as she got there, she was like, we need to get him to the hospital right away. And I was like, okay, that's why I called you here. And that was on a Thursday afternoon. Got Peter to the hospital. They put him on morphine because he was in a lot of pain. When we got him there, and in less than 24 hours, he died. You know, by the grace of God, you know, I got a nurse there in time, you know, that he didn't die in the condo, because that would have been a whole nother ordeal that I found out here in Thailand. It would have been under super investigation, and the police would have been there, and I would have been scrutinized about, am I a part of this death? You know, a whole lot of investigation would have happened for me if he would have died in the condo.
Well, you was scrutinized, wasn't you, anyway?
I was scrutinized, yeah, by you know, some church community, should I say, that, you know, that doesn't want me around anymore, pretty much. And so they were trying to find a way, how do we get rid of this guy for good? And they were literally trying to get me locked up, man, all because, you know, I teach against religion. I don't believe in religion, you know, and today's Christianity is not what the early church established as the way, you know, and so I advocate for the truth of the gospel and the way it was established with the early church, which today's Western Christianity has gotten so far away from what was originally established as what they call the way, which is a cultural way of living. It's not just a romanticized story to believe, but a life to be lived.
How can you explain to me in a little bit more depth that statement you just made? You don't believe in religion, but you believe in God?
I believe in God. I believe in spirituality. To me, following Christ becomes religion when politics are involved. And politics got involved with the Roman Empire, right? So they went from being martyrs for preaching the gospel, and they were being killed for their faith, to becoming presidents, to becoming politicians, when the Roman Empire embraced Christianity as their main faith. And so the whole Roman Empire converted over to, not converted, but began to believe in Christ as their savior and as their God. And so they never went to the original apostles and disciples and say, how do we become Christians? We want to learn how to be like you all. They adapted Christianity and went on to serve a Hebrew God the same way they served their Greek gods. And so they went from praying to Hercules, Bacchus, Zeus, and all of these gods, to praying to St. Mark, St. Luke, St. Jude, They never changed their form of worshiping a God. And so that changed the culture of Christianity forever.
Are you saying the hierarchy of it pollutes?
Yes, because the the church is not set up in a sense of hierarchy. Everyone is equal. As a matter of fact, the Bible says, let them that are least amongst you be the judge. Where in this world is those that are who are more prominent is the ones who are of authority and being the judge. And so, in the kingdom of God, it's the complete opposite. It's about humility. It's about unity. It's about loving my brother as myself. It's about everyone being together, as it can think of it as the ant mound or a beehive, right? Millions of ants leaving the mound, they all have this job, but they all have one common goal, the queen. And they're all working for the mound and to protect the queen so they can survive. Well, and every other species on the planet work together for their survival, except for human beings. We are divided. We're conquering each other. There's just so much going on with the human species where we should be one species working together. What's yours is mine. If you're hurting, I'm hurting. If you don't have, I don't have. So I'm going to make sure you have so we all can have, And the church, and even in the Old Testament, Israel was set up that way. As a tribe, the Levites was set aside. The rest of the tribe was supposed to bring a tenth of what they have, to bring in the storehouse so everyone can have. The early church was set up the same way. They say, everybody bring, rich and poor, bring it all, put it on the table, and we would distribute as needed because they are one body. They're not individuals. Today's church is not
So two things
operating that way.
Got written down here. We mentioned the dog eat dog.
Yes.
World.
Yes, dog eat dog world, yeah.
And no ego. I sense that from you. There's no ego,
No. To serve God, the ego has to get out of the way. That's the first thing, humility. Because again, it's not about, even though it is about people, but my service is about my God. And my God is telling me to go serve the people, right? And so I have to first come in a humble posture before God to receive my assignment, which is usually beyond my human capability. And so I have to trust God, which is also humble. Being humble is to say, okay, you're telling me to do this. I don't see how this looks impossible, but I trust you. And so that posture of humility to go anyway, even though you don't see it, you're just trusting,
faith.
Yes. And to have faith, you have to have humility. You see.
Explain to me a little bit more about humility.
Humility, not being in control, surrender, submitting.
Is it being able to be taught as well?
Being teachable. Yes. Because if you're a bookworm or a scholar, a person that knows a lot has the posture, if he's humble, there's more for me to learn. That's humility, because I've learned a lot, but I want to know more. I don't know everything. So that's a humble posture.
Yeah. It's a student mentality.
Yes, it's not, I know everything and I've read this many books and I can tell you, how are you going to tell me? Taking that posture is ego.
Yes.
But if someone is telling you something you've never heard before, you go, that's interesting. Tell me more. Rather than, saying, well, I already know that stuff, Well, maybe there is something I can learn more because we don't know everything, right? So humility is just surrender, letting go of control.
Thank you for sharing. Can you dive into the difference of how your church operated in the USA to what you found out in Thailand?
Not a whole lot difference,
Okay.
Because church in Thailand is coming from Western Christianity. And so, what they know of church is because missionaries has come here and exemplify what is church and how to have church, and Thai people have adapted what church is and how church is ran based upon European Americans or, these Christian countries coming to educate them about church and what is church. And so coming here, I find that there's a lot of believers, but not converts, And that's important because if you believe something, it should convert you. It should change you, you know? So if I believe something and it's not changing me, then do I really believe it? Right? And so there are people who say, I believe in Christ and I worship Christ, but they're not following Christ. And that's what I would say 90% of the Christian communities globally, you know, they believing the story, but they're not living the life that's required of them.
And is that just Christian?
Well, you know, I got to say this, that Muslims convert their followers. When you become a Muslim, you get converted. And they teach you how to live the life and how to be a Muslim and how to eat as a Muslim and how to dress as a Muslim. Like they truly convert you, you know. And other religions, I find that people get converted to the religion. In Christianity, they allow people to have a free fall. Just believe. You can be who you are. Just believe that you're saved. And everybody's serving the God of their own understanding and doing it their own way. And so there's no real conversion. It's just belief. The life never really changes. It's just, I believe that what he did, I'm going to have resurrection from the dead. I'm saved from my sin because of what Christ did.
What one takeaway, we're coming to the end shortly, what one takeaway would you like the viewer to take away from this conversation?
Finding a sense of purpose in life. Finding out why am I waking up every day. And discovering that purpose is not about self. It's about others. If the human species would think of others before themselves and everyone did that, then no one would need for anything because we're all be taking care of each other, you know. Hey, you don't have, I got you, bro. You know, that everybody would be looking after each other and no one would need for anything because everyone's taking care of each other. And so that's living life with purpose, seeking the welfare of others before your own.
Yes.
Is a purpose.
It's a lot more powerful than material as
Yeah.
well, I feel. You know,
Yeah.
to want to give yourself, to want to help others.
Yes.
It's a lot more power in it than the money.
Totally.
And the money can come and go.
Totally.
But you impacting someone's life, it's
Totally.
live forever.
Because if you change someone and they see you in a predicament, they will give their life to help you because you've helped them, you know. And so imagine if you've helped, you know, 100,000 people and they all found out you're in trouble. You know, a bunch of those people are going to come to your aid because you've thought of them and they want to give back to you. So, you know, your money is limitless if you got 100,000 people that you've saved their lives and they just like, I just want to make sure you're okay, you know, so you don't even really have to worry about it because you got a tribe now who's making sure you're okay.
Yeah, I hear the value exchange, the energy you mentioned to earlier on about giving out as much of the higher vibrational energies, and even it comes back in abundance.
It will come back
in abundance. But also, before you've even received anything, it's came back because just helping someone and putting that good vibe out there, it's good for your spirit.
But you know, there's something to that too, because in helping people, it can also be selfish, right? Because there's a self-gratification. True helping someone is doing something there's no takeaway for you. It's a real sacrifice for you. But you do it with all your heart and you're not looking for nothing back. You just want the person to be well. You know, it's the story of the Good Samaritan.
Yeah. But this is a funny one because in the long run, you could look at it that you doing something and getting something back is going to help you serve more people in the long run.
Yes, it could be. It could be. But again, it could also be if it didn't make you feel good, would you do it? If you didn't feel good to give it to that person, you're like, wow, I did a good deed today. I felt good. If there was no good feeling at all, would you do it?
Strong questions.
You know what I mean? That's when it's valuable because now it's not about you.
There's no expectation.
It's not about you at all. It's about that person.
Beautiful, man. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. we're coming to the end shortly. Can we share a little bit about Toastmasters? Because I see you every week, Jimmy. We do Toastmasters.
Yes, we do.
Practice our speech. We practice our listening skills. And it's been the biggest investment I've made all year.
Great investment.
So thank you so much for welcoming me there.
Thank you for coming
really
and being a part. You're a big part of that right now.
Thank you, brother.
Know, for sure.
Thank
you
you.
bring a lot to it. You know.
Thank you.
Yeah, Toastmasters is a great curriculum for speech. Public speaking. Working on your leadership skills, on the structuring speeches,
and your courage as well, and testing yourself.
Yes.
Because many people come there, and there's a lot of feedback as well. You get at the end, so it tests your ego.
Yes. Yes.
And just getting yourself outside your comfort zone.
Yes.
So I strongly recommend getting involved. If you're in Pattaya, it's every Tuesday at 5 or 6 o'clock, and then every Thursday.
Are we still doing that? So we decided to stop.
But if you're interested, drop me a message and I'll
Yes.
point you in the right direction. Over on my Instagram page, Gaz_Collins.
Yes, Toastmasters is a great curriculum to get involved with for personal growth and confidence in yourself. Because again, it doesn't matter how many times you've been on a stage as a public speaker, the butterflies are always there.
The excitement.
The nervousness is always there. And so you learn how to use that. I call it the wind-up doll effect.
Yeah.
Right? And you let it go, right? And so that energy is creativity waiting to be unleashed.
There's a quick statement. You can look at it as nerves. I'm nervous, or you can say I'm excited. It's both the same chemical reaction in your body, but that simple word saying I'm excited, it just flips it on its head.
Yes, yes.
And also there's an expat meeting every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday at 10 o'clock, the meeting starts, but there's a buffet.
And it's half price, isn't it?
It's half. Yes, it's discount half price for the expat members. Holiday Inn Executive Suite.
Beach Road.
Beach Road on the 6th floor. Beautiful buffet, and my God, anything you could want is at that buffet. Cook to order omelets.
Great view as well.
A great view of the ocean and all of Pattaya, the Pattaya sign. It's just a great place to have breakfast.
Yeah. So if you want to meet up with me and Jimmy, please come along.
Yes.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with the world, Jimmy?
For those that don't know about the Expat Club, it's a great place if you're living here in Pattaya to gather information of what to do in Pattaya. Hospital things, anything you want to know.
Visas.
Just
general networking and social gathering.
Yeah, Expat that has businesses here, all types of businesses and services. If you're looking for something, Expat Club is the place where you can get a lot of good information of where to go and what to do here in Pattaya. And
I will be speaking with another Toastmaster fellow guest. At the end of the month, 30th of July. So if you would like to come along and watch me speak in live and living colour, I will be there.
Yes.
Yes, indeed. Thank you for viewing, guys. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Let me know what you think about the conversation we've just had. Much love. And shout out to Battle Conquer, our sponsors. Thank you. Peace. Thank you, Ivan. Appreciate your patience.